All right, all right. Here it is again. You know what it is. It
It's
is
Friday
Friday
Night
live.
Live.
We're
All
having a
right.
ball here once again. Hey, welcome to the show, everyone. Hey, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come and visit with us and hang out. We really appreciate that.
That's right. Just as we just ramble on, right?
Yeah, that's how
Like
we
we
do.
always do.
But we bring some good information. It's just not rambling.
It's not
No,
okay.
no.
All right.
We got substance,
So good
especially
rambling.
right, especially tonight, because tonight we're going to talk about healing your relationship or healing yourself, dealing with mental health in your relationship.
Did we look blurry?
Right after this. Like I said
All
in the
right.
intro, hey, we're talking about mental health. People are dealing with a lot of different things right now. And we really need to dress down and look at ourselves and really deal with some issues. This
Or be
pandemic,
honest. Or be honest with
right,
ourselves. Sometimes we don't know that we're going through a mental issue
right.
because we've never done it before. So before we go any further, let's bring our guest on.
All right,
All right.
here we go. Who we have? We have Dr. Ngozi Truth Krishan. Let's bring her on. Let's get her on in here. Dr. Truth.
All right. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Haven't seen you for a few months.
No, I've been in hibernation.
Right,
Yes.
I know, right?
So, Dr. Truth, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm Dr. Ngonzi Truth Krishan. I'm from Chicago, but I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a licensed eligible psychologist, and I work with children, families, adults, couples. I specialize in trauma, sexual, physical trauma, as well as healthy relationships. And I would like to say that my main goal is to help break generational cycles.
Meaning
Uh,
what? Of what?
Irrational thinking, feeling, and behaviors that no longer serve us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like the things that we grew up with that was normal. Now we realize that's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Right, no longer serves us. It could have worked for that generation, but it no longer works for us.
Absolutely,
right.
absolutely.
But we have a lot of that pushed down on us. Just generational stuff that I do it because my parents did it. I did it because my grandmother taught me this.
Well, and when we talk about mental issue, I really want to talk about like the younger generation in particular right now, right? I think that they are so driven to be different that sometimes they don't even realize when they're having a mental crisis. So, what are some of the things that we can do to not just the young generation, but anybody in a relationship, right? Because sometimes we're in relationships and it's going well in the beginning, and then somewhere along the line, life, work, kids, stress, money, COVID hit. A lot of things come on us at one time, and we start acting differently or being stressed or depressed. And so, how do we recognize some of the things that it may be a mental issue?
Well, sometimes we don't recognize it. So our partner or our children or our spouse may recognize it before we actually do. So listening to our partner and several people that may agree with that or give you that same feedback.
Okay.
That they're recognizing
hard, right? But that's hard. That's hard, right? So if I go to my mate and say like something's wrong with you, the first thing they're gonna think is what? Something's wrong with me. Like
hopefully you don't say it like that.
So that's what I'm saying. So how do we recognize it? How do we say it? How do we sometimes people, because we're not used to dealing with mental issues, right?
Mhm.
And especially in our community. That's not something that we
Talk
promote
about. No, we
or
don't
talk
talk
about.
about.
So how do we even get people to recognize that, hey, wait a minute, like something mental might be going on there, and not with a negative connotation to it?
Okay, so you may notice their behavior. So you may notice well, honey, you're not looking the same like you used to do or
Exactly.
used to be, or your spirit seemed down. Is there something going on at work or at home? They may not be ready to tell you, but you can notice, become aware, state what you see. Because when clients come into my office, if they tell me that they're happy, but their face looks like it's something that's disconnected and is not aligned, right?
I
Right.
said I'm happy. right? Right? Okay. Right.
Yeah. So even they will notice that if you call that out, and it's not in a negative connotation, like you said, but you're just noticing their behavior, you're noticing something in their physical appearance or something that has changed, whether that's in a child or in your spouse,
Mhm.
And hopefully they can accept that feedback that maybe I am looking a little bit tired. And maybe they may not notice that, but you are noticing that. And so they may have to think about it and then come back to you to say, oh, yes, honey, I was a little stressed because it was Friday and all my reports, it's end of the quarter or whatever.
Mhm.
So, and I say that because, like, if let's just say hypothetical, like your child, right? You go to them and you say, you know what, like something's not right. You seem stressed or depressed, and then they tell you, how do you know that they need actual help and not just recognize, because we say, yeah, well, I was stressed and
Right.
yeah, I'm a little depressed. So then, how do we know when you say, well, maybe you need to get some professional
Oh, you need
help.
to talk to someone
You
else.
need to
Right.
talk to someone, right?
Right.
Because we don't do that. We just like, okay, I'm totally stressed. I'm totally bombed out. Like, and we just hold on to that, don't we? Don't we just?
Yeah, we
Okay,
that.
this is the norm.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of crazy things going on.
Oh,
in
that's
my
just
head,
that's
but
that
it's the norm.
generational stuff. You just man up and you deal with it.
Right,
That's basically it.
So usually when functioning stops, so you're not going to work, or you're going to work, but you're sleeping at work, or you're at home, but you're not participating. You're no longer eating dinner with the family, or you're no longer as happy. You're just laying on the couch and you're not a person that's a couch potato.
Right.
It has to be out of the norm to affect your functioning. If it's for children, then that functioning will be affected at school. So you'll notice declining grades. At home, you may notice arguments, more frequent arguments, more irritation, more, jumping to conclusions, things of that nature. But I don't want you to diagnose your spouse.
So how do we tell people you need some help?
Right. You need to go talk to somebody right about now.
Something's wrong with you.
Right.
How do we get people to actually realize that this is something that's not normal, what I'm feeling, and that I actually should seek some help?
Yes. So it depends, because there are lots of different symptoms for different diagnoses. So for depression, there may be some sleeping too much, not sleeping enough. You may wake up in the middle of the night or have trouble falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
You could eat or overeat or not eat as much as you should. You're skipping meals.
Right.
Okay. Your mood may be lower, or your mood may be higher. You may be angry more times than not. So you're noticing all of these changes. It's more than just that. So I don't want you to say,
right. I understand. No, I'm saying you can't give us all.
Some of this stuff was normal in context of depression because you're in the house all day.
Right.
And so you may have some depression, but that was more normalized because of the state that the world was in. People were dying, and that's a trauma, and we are responding to that. So if there's nothing else to do outside of that home because you're constrained,
Mm-hmm.
then that some of that is normal. So you have to get that checked out. There are lots of screeners sometimes that are online. Now I'm not saying go to the online.
Are you talking about call an 800 number or something and they screen you online?
No,
Okay.
she said don't go yourself.
Okay.
You can go to WebMD because they are a valid source.
Okay.
You can go to Psychology Today. You can go to places of that nature that are, valid sources where you can go to look at some of the mental health symptoms, and you can notice and check there to see, oh, honey, you may need to go because this could be depression or this could be anxiety. or go with them, not tell them to go.
Yeah. And then the thing is, like, I think the major thing is getting people to understand they need to get help.
Right.
Even
And
if
be-
they
and
see
being
it
supportive.
themselves, even
Right.
if they see it themselves, because most of the time, even when we're sick, right, we think we can eventually overcome it.
Yeah.
When do we know it's something that
We
we
can't
cannot
handle.
pull ourselves out of, but we actually need some actual professional help?
Is that a medical answer?
That is such a loaded question
Okay.
because of the mental health stigma in certain communities.
Yeah.
Because we do feel, and some spiritual institutions as well as churches
Right.
not teach that, but give that message sometimes. Sometimes families are given that message that if you have depression, then you are weak because you can't pull yourself out. But this is not something that you can pull yourself out of. Yes, you can learn how to cope with your symptoms of depression or anxiety, but you cannot pull yourself out of it. Sometimes people that are clinically depressed, so there's level to depression, right?
Mhm.
You can be depressed, but it's not clinically depressed. Or you can be clinically depressed and you may need counseling, or you may need counseling and medication
Okay.
to rebalance.
Sure.
Mhm. Yeah, I think a lot of COVID, you know, it
Oh,
just,
yeah,
a
it
lot
put
of
a-
people have, like, it's so many, it was, you know, some people handled it well, but then it was the stress of not going to work, not seeing people. In addition
Just
to
not
that,
leaving the house. Yeah.
a lot of people were not having income, right?
Yeah.
Now you're all stressed out, and we never know, like, the mind is such a delicate thing. We never know when it's just going to, right, just click, or when we have those genes that we didn't know we had, you know, those. So it's just helping people to notice some of the signs within themselves and be honest. I think being honest about mental health.
It brought out a lot. I know COVID did. I know COVID
Baby, I
made
just
people.
wanted to tell you. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I need to go talk to somebody. Okay. I'll talk to Dr. Truth after this. I know COVID just brought a lot of things to the forefront in a hurry. I mean, because we
Yeah.
went from having a normal life, what we thought was normal, and it was serving us, to complete change, complete lockdown, and like you said, it might have been loss of income,
And I think
and
a lot
a
of
house that
young
may
people-
not be as healthy as you would have liked to
Right.
be there all the time
Yeah,
with that
that's
person.
true.
So, and I found that out, not me personally, that every house. Yeah, no, get that straight. No, not here now. But every household wasn't a safe household.
Right. Some kids needed to escape to go to school. Like,
Yes.
some people needed to escape to go to work. Some people needed to escape their environment just to cope with everyday living. And then when that was taken away, now, you know, you see people, they're not realizing that people need help. You know, it's more arguing or more confrontational or finger pointing, whereas we're just not realizing that sometimes things affect people different ways.
Right, and they cope with it. It all
Yeah.
depends on how you express it or not express it. So I know that you probably had a lot of individuals have to go through this. I mean, is there any type of safeguards or things that we should really be looking out for to kind of say, hey, you know what, things aren't right at this particular.
Things that couples or parents can look for right now in their child or in their spouse, just generalize. Like you said, there's some things that it doesn't include everything, but some of the things you mentioned before, and then just kind of paying attention to what, you know, like, what are really some red flags?
So red flags may be ending friendships
Okay.
with their friend group, isolating more in their rooms. This could be for adults or for children.
Yeah.
Like I said, the eating, the sleeping,
Yeah.
functioning, the everyday functioning, the irritation. If you're more irritated with one member of the family, you're usually not. Like, you didn't have conflict initially, but now you do. And I feel like a lot of people during COVID now have conflict with
everybody. Yeah, with everybody. I didn't used to have a problem with you, but
Nah, being locked in for a year, yeah.
or being irritable with themselves.
Yes, yes.
You know, so being negative and talking negatively about themselves, saying I always do that wrong, or you know, and they haven't done that before. But any negative talk, negative actions, moping around, holding your head down, self-harm, of course, because we have to check on our youth, especially in teens that may be cutting. So we look for cuts on arms, on forearms, on shoulders. Sometimes they try to hide it underneath clothing. They cut thighs, they cut underneath by the ankles where socks are usually worn. But just to notice your child, notice your spouse, because they could be self-harming or taking pills or taking too many pills. I just wanted to sleep, so I took a whole bottle of sleeping pills. No, that's bordering on self-harm, suicidality, and they may not be suicidal, but they're doing some things that may cause some harm to their health. Drinking, excessive drinking to cope, any negative drug. So I'm not gonna name all the negative substances.
Yeah.
But we know we
Or
have to
indulging in more, right? Just indulging in more. And
sometimes overeating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can do
it's
it.
not a drug, but that still is something about the overindulgence of anything. And so trying to find the balance, trying to get them to express hope in maybe a time that is very hopeless. We had Black Lives Matter. We had COVID-19.
Right.
We have community violence. Sometimes we have domestic violence. And so when there's high emotionality in the households, how do different members of the family respond to it? Are people crying more? Are people isolating more? Are people siding? You know, we talked about triangulation before on the last podcast, where sometimes we're triangulating and we're saying that one of the children is the problem, but it's really some dynamics between the parents, and it may be some marital problems, but they're focusing all their attention on the children's behavioral problems, but they're expressing the emotions of the family. So sometimes we have one person in the family, and it's not always the child, that expresses and holds the emotionality for the entire family sometimes and displays them, and they become the problem. So we're going to send them to therapy.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with us.
Right.
Yeah, because we're fine.
The real problem is still at home, right?
That's right.
That's the bad one. We're great.
Yeah, that finger pointing, right?
For sure.
Yeah, so there's lots of things to notice. But we also have to notice ourselves, you know, and we have to notice, and we can state it out loud. I talk a lot about this in therapy, to name the issue, because a lot of times we walk around with the elephant in the room. Name the issue that COVID-19 is happening, that Black Lives Matter is happening. I know that stress is high. You know, I know that it's a stressful time for you at work, whatever it is. I know that this is your senior year. You didn't get to have a graduation.
Right.
So we're going to do something to help alleviate some of that anxiety or depression or fear that children and adults have. You can notice without noticing, without saying it out loud sometimes too. If you know how your partner will react, you can just do something nice for your partner or for your child because you're noticing that they're experiencing fear. We don't always say and name our feelings out loud. So that has to become a practice, especially in our Black and brown minority, you know, families.
Right.
I call them I feel statements, where you say I feel and then you fill in the blank. And it's surprising because adults and children sometimes have a difficulty saying a feeling besides happy or sad. And so I break out the feelings wheel. Let me get my feelings wheel.
Yeah, get your feelings wheel.
That's right. Let's see how you're feeling.
And when you're going to get that feelings wheel, I'm just going to say Dr. Truth was on episode number 49, legendaryrelationship.com/number 49. Should we go to marriage therapy? And what you're hearing from Dr. Truth, you know we need to go to marriage therapy.
So this is the I feel wheel?
Yes, this is a feelings wheel. They have these online for sale as posters. This one is a pillow. But I show this to my clients and I let them look at feelings, because sometimes parents will say, I'm angry, but I'm not irate. And I'll be like, irate is a part of anger, and we'll go up. Really? Yes. So we are teaching about psychoeducation and feelings. Okay.
Okay.
So we have to practice that in our family. We talked about dinner time and family dinner time last time. We have to have the time where we're actually checking in with our family so we know what their baseline is. Our baseline is usually how people act, how they usually are in their emotions. And you should know how your children usually act or react to certain. So if the reaction is too high for the situation,
Right.
then you know that maybe something else is irritating them besides that small thing that just happened or occurred.
Right.
And so we can take that time, slow it down, and ask them what's going on.
Okay.
How many different emotions are there on that pillow?
On this pillow?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how many.
That's a lot of emotions. I mean, I'm thinking just happy, sad, okay. But that's a lot of different type, angry.
Right.
That's a lot of different
emotions.
emotions that you can say, I feel like
Certain things.
right. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So what do you do when people are withdrawing? Right. So because people do that because they want to be seclusive, right? They don't want to be a part of it anymore. So when somebody is pulling away and they want to maintain that separation, how do you get them back to, not pulling away or to see that there's something really deeper than what it's not normal to just want to seclude yourself. Right. So how do we get people to not only recognize it, but then give some type of help, like you said, the feelings wheel, but what, just kind of making sure that we're talking to one another so that we can be respectful and successful in trying to help them understand that there is something that could be going on deeper than what's on the surface.
So I would say sometimes that answer is to give them space, but I would also say it's a timeline for that space. So you're not going to give your child or your spouse space for a week, but you can give them like, I'll check back in an hour, or I'll check back in the morning. Is there echo?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So you can have that conversation with the person to ask them, how much time do you need? So some of my parents who have children that are suicidal or something like that, we're not allowing you to have space with your door closed. And we know that you may be self-harm. That's a different situation. But if someone just needs to be alone, may not want to confront or talk about the conflict at that time, then you can say, okay, it's up to the parent, of course, to say, well, we'll talk about this in an hour, or we'll talk about this tomorrow, just to give them a little space sometimes, because sometimes that's the coping skill that they're using to walk away or to take a time out. So if you continue to, I don't want to say pester, but that's the word that's coming to my mind. Sometimes it's more combative to when emotions are high. And so you want to wait until some of that emotionality comes down, both for you and for the child, or you and the spouse, because that may not be the appropriate time. We want to talk face to face, eye to eye, knee to knee. And we want to talk in I statements. We don't want to say, you made me mad and you did this and you always do that. We're not trying to hold on to old emotions and bring all of this up. We're talking about one thing at a time. So we're talking about how you're feeling, how you're doing, what may have caused this, how can I help? That should be the conversation. That's not always the conversation.
Right.
So that's when we may bring it to a counselor to help mediate those conversations.
Is that what it is? You just need to mediate something. Sometimes people just can't sit down and talk things out, like I feel about this, because you'll start out, I can see this, a couple will sit down and say, I feel this way, and then the next thing they'll be like, you did They go from the I's to the U's, and then it's over with
real quick.
Right. And then then you need to, so say I'm in a session, or we're in a session, and we start out with the I's and then we go to the U's. Do you stop the session and be like, hey, hold up, wait a minute, let's regroup and let's just focus back on the I's?
Or is mediation always probably better? Like, is mediation, because sometimes the other people just, I don't know. Mediation maybe, how do you know when you need mediation?
When it's you.
When it's hollering and screaming out,
Right.
going on.
I can't talk to her.
Oh, we know. A lot of people know right now during
Yep.
COVID.
Yeah.
We know there's a lot of tension in the house where you're scared to go to bed, with the person, where
Right.
you're sleeping in the
Yeah.
other room. It's lots of couples now after COVID-19 that sleep in separate bedrooms. When you've been sent to the man den or to the woman den multiple times.
Yeah.
So those are some of the signs. Other signs is when you're arguing more than you're talking or communicating in a calm manner. So how do we get back to the love and remember the love and the reason why we got together, right? So we may need to revisit some of that and or take a break.
Wow.
All right.
Wow, take a break.
And then
When you say take a break, you mean like separate or just take a break and not talk for, and come back and reconvene later on? That kind of break?
It could depend on the situation. Sometimes a break in another room, a break in the conversation, and sometimes a break in separation. Because sometimes couples are escalating to violence, to verbal abuse, to emotional abuse, to physical abuse, sexual abuse, all of these, so sometimes people may need to take a break.
Wow.
And then, so I think as far as, like you said, sometimes people just need, you said counseling, and then sometimes you need to know whether you need medication, right? So that's something that, so how does someone spot if they're bipolar, if it's mental, if it needs medication, right? How do we get to that point? Because sometimes, it's hard to get people, and so it's hard to get our people to go get the help they need, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we don't even have the resources to get the help we need. Right? Not everybody has health insurance. This isn't Canada, right? Yeah. So if you can't get the help and you can't afford it, how do you get that? Where are there places where people can actually go and get help?
At least start the process.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one is your primary care doctor. A lot of times they have free clinics, even if you don't have health insurance. You can always go, if you're in Chicago, you can go to Cook County. You
really gonna have a mental issue when you come out of there. You go in there. You go in there feeling okay.
Stroger has some of the best doctors here because they have students. So they have the
doctors. It's the people you got to get through to get to the doctors.
Yeah.
It's all the other people that you got to deal with. Right?
They do have some doctors at Cook County.
Lots of barriers.
Right, exactly. You're like, you know what? When I walked in here, I had this amount of symptoms. Now, before I got to you, you didn't add it to it. Added more stress. So you said there's free clinics, and what else?
They have free hospitals. So you can go through the hospital and a primary care doctor, especially when we're talking about mental health stigma, because health is usually less stigmatized than mental health. And so a lot of times the referrals come from the primary care doctor or the pediatrician for your child. And they will recommend, they may see signs, or you as the parent or the spouse may be reporting signs to the primary care doctor or the pediatrician. So those are red flags. And the primary care doctor can give you a quick screener for depression, a quick screener for anxiety, or prescribe sometimes the medication there for the condition that they are seeing. But then they may refer you to a specialist like a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a therapist, or marriage and family, right? But there are also community mental health centers that are free and or low cost. I'm not going to go into healthcare, but there are still ways for people to get healthcare, but I do understand that some people still do not have healthcare. But there's still free services. Let me just say that. And you can always call any of the hotlines. It's suicide prevention hotline. I know the one here by heart and not the one in Illinois, or the national prevention line.
Yeah, give us a national since we are national.
Hold on. Yeah, you all are national. Hold on. Because I gotta find it in my email. 2 seconds.
No, the
I
old days, the Rolodex.
That's right.
Okay, I have the Georgia Crisis Access line in my head. So the National Suicide Prevention Line is 1-800-273-TALK, TALK, which is 8255. So 1-800-273-8255.
All right.
And even though that's the suicide prevention line, they also have licensed therapists on the line, and they can connect you to a therapist and or a health professional in your area.
Okay.
So that's what we need. That's the kind of stuff we need to do.
Yeah, a lot of marriages that
they went through
it.
This past year and a half has been tough on a lot of people.
Relationships, just
things haven't been well.
Yeah, because even if one spouse may have lost their job or was home, not everybody had the choice of getting unemployment or getting money.
Right.
So there was a lot of stress put on a lot of different couples, or just the fact that some couples really weren't that good off in the first place, right?
Yeah.
You put that last straw on that camel's back,
and that's it. Camel, camel can't take no more.
Have you found that in your practice that you have been getting more this year than usual? Like, is there any way to kind of seem like you've getting more? No.
So yes, I have seen lots of parents or couples living in different bedrooms and on the brink of divorce, so separated but living in the same household, and or clashing with parents because of whatever the deal is. So it may be, like you said, money. It may also be around rearing children, and so even child custody agreements are up and abuse is up. Anytime when we're staying in the household for high periods of time, there sometimes is high emotionality in the household because we can't get out, like you talked about before.
Right.
Or the other coping skills that we use, and that social support, which are friends, which are churches, which are, all these things that are outlets.
Absolutely.
So you're not in the same. There's so many couples that do not see each other, but for a couple hours a day because they're at work.
Yep.
And the children are at school. There's so many parents that do not interact with their children on a regular basis to see their face. One parent told me, yes, I went in the house, but I didn't see my child. They were in another room, but I knew they were here. But we have to lay eyes on our children. We have to lay eyes on our spouse.
But that's so common. That is so common.
What about, like, when I was taught that when you walk in the house, you need to greet everybody. Like,
right.
Kids or something, you can just walk in and not say hi, Dad, hi, Mom.
Not in today's generation.
Nope.
They don't even speak when you were standing right there next to them. Walk in, wake up, good morning. So that's very true.
That's just technology.
Today's work. Technology.
Well, first thing, they always got their head down in the phone, and I'm like, listen.
Or we put our focus on other things.
Oh, of course,
that we pretend is most important, right?
Right.
Oh, I knew he was there, and I needed to get dinner. I need to do this. I need to do that. Right. So we don't even. I mean, literally, I hate to say it. I mean, they could be down there or in their room and have already harmed themselves, and we would never know.
Because we're not checking on them.
Right. We're not checking on them.
We don't have a routine or nothing.
With nothing. Right. Yeah. We just know when we call them, if they don't answer, then we go and find out.
Right.
But before that point, we need to start making some changes in the way we do things. And that's what people don't realize.
And paying attention to the norms. Like Dr. True said, the norms. I mean, when you're out of norms, like, you're laying around too much.
But that's the problem. The norm is we don't never put eyes on them. Oh, they're in the room.
Yeah, right. They over there, they're not bothering us. We're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you want your peace and stuff, but you still have to pay attention to it,
Yeah.
And that's the problem. We don't. And then you go in there, and if they're deciding, to do some self-harm or whatever.
Sometimes we don't even know what the norm is for our kids or our spouse.
Somewhere along the line.
We weren't even spending a lot of hours in the day with them.
Right. So somewhere along the line, you don't, because we were out of the house for the majority of the time. We come back. We only have, what you said, a couple hours in the evening to deal with our children and to deal with our spouse.
Or to just do what you normally do and go to bed.
Right.
We don't even interact.
You're running, you're going here and there. Now, when it first happened, I was like, phew, I'm slowing down. Things are good. I'm at home. I am happy, right? Things were good. And it stayed that way. But I knew that I had to continually work on my relationship because it would still deteriorate, because after a while you spend so much time together, and then the little things that used to bother you now become the big things that bother you. So it's like, you know what, I'm going to keep my relationship in the forefront. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to work on my responses, which we talked about.
We talking about
that.
mental health.
I understand that, but that's all
Was
part of it.
Was that your mental health?
That was my mental health.
Because the truth, like,
because the first thing to deteriorate is you, and then your relationship goes, and then everything else. You land up on the couch talking about, you get on my nerve and all that stuff.
Mine is gone.
Right. So I knew that I had to continually, work on yourself, because eventually I knew that we were going to come out of this pandemic, right? So I can't come out being the same person. I wanted to come out being a little bit better. Right?
So I know you've.
How do you work on yourself?
Through self-improvement, through talking,
looking at your post.
Yes. Right, well, man, I might need to go sit down and talk to somebody.
I've noticed that you have you've posted a lot about mental health. So so what do you feel like that's an area right now that really needs to be focused on?
I think it's always needed to be focused on, but I think more so now than before, because people are now ready. They're primed and ready. We love clients that are ready to do the work. Lots more people are ready to do the work. Therapy for Black girls is on and popping. Their podcast, Therapy for Black men, is also, there. And so we are talking about reminding people what are the norms that the basic things that we should be doing. So we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We have to have food, shelter, sleep, all those different things. That's the basics. But if we're not getting the 8 hours, if we're not eating 3 meals a day, if we're not drinking our 8 glasses of water or more, then we are already off balance. So what's the foundation for, you to be stable and you to be balanced? Because your health is related to your mental health. Right. And both of them affect each other. I teach my children in therapy that your emotions, when you hold them in, when you bottle them in, they become health conditions. They may become tumors. They may become headaches. They may become stomach aches. They may become back aches. That's why a lot of the children are going to the nurses in schools. Yeah. A lot of parents are going to their primary care doctor, and spouses saying, "Oh, you make my head hurt." Yeah, you're right. Somebody is making your head hurt. It might be you, because you hold your emotions in instead of expressing them. And I'm not saying yell and cuss them out. Right. From husband to the man then, but I am saying learn how to express your emotions in a manner that is not just the surface content, but the in-depth content. So, honey, because of these experiences that I've been through, when you say this, then I feel this way.
Right.
That's something totally different, because that's a vulnerability statement versus you getting on my nerves. Can you stop doing that? Can you stop making that noise? You're triggering some of my trauma. Take responsibility for what's yours and let them know how they may be re-triggering some of those emotions in you. So that's a different conversation. Maybe your spouse may receive that differently than you. Sure. Get on my nerves, get out my face, get out my room, get out my house, get out my house.
That's right. I just need to be alone right now. Just leave me alone.
And I want you to leave.
Right. It's like there's only 2 of us in the house, baby. Right. Yeah, so that helped us. I mean, like we talked more and more during the pandemic, and especially doing the podcast and all. We talked a lot, and then we also had some revelations in our own relationships about, I don't like it when you say this. I'm like, that bothers you? I've always said that. We just kind of found that out. It's like, okay, well, cool. I need to work on that. So we overcame some of those things. Now we're talking about stuff after 30 years. That, I've been probably saying that for, I don't know
30 years.
I've been saying it for around 30 years. And it's like, now we just finding out that, we didn't like that.
So as we wind down for this very short night live, but now longer than live. So what do you what do you have to say to the people as far as circling around mental health?
Okay, so I have lots of things. So remember to keep up your physical activity and your exercising. And I know people are allergic to exercise, so I say dance classes, yoga, whatever it is that helps you move your body, walking around your neighborhood, walking the dog. Set alarms and reminders, have routines, especially that family dinner time once a week where you're checking in with everyone on not just their challenges during the day, but also their wins. So things that went right. Also having that once a week date night with your spouse, because that helps to build up the positive. You know, we have the little jars and we put positive fuzzies in there. So when we're always primed to talk about the negative.
Right. Exactly.
Let's put some positive things in the jar, and we're doing that by having date night at least once a week. And date night does not have to be outside of the home. Date night could be right there on the couch. It could be you all watching your favorite show, but at least talking to one another in a calm manner about some of the things, the wins and the challenges, not just all the challenges.
Right.
I would say also, I'm trying to skip down. Okay. Take care of yourself, like Jason said. So we need to check in with ourselves as well, how we're feeling emotionally as well as health-wise. Okay. Because I can walk around some days and I can feel tension in my shoulders, but I won't stop to recognize it or to touch my own shoulders. And so even being in tune with your body. Now, when I'm recognizing that I'm stressed out, I'll give myself a hand massage. Okay. You can do it for yourself. I teach my children progressive muscle relaxation. So you can tense your shoulders by just pulling your shoulders back. It feels so good. So you tense it, you're letting it go. Yeah. We're letting it go. We're letting all the drama go.
Let
it go.
Not all of them. Some need to go. But we're going to let the explosive, hostile arguments lessen so they're not an everyday occurrence. And in some households, it's more than an everyday occurrence.
Okay.
And so we want to just limit some of those. That does not have to be how we handle conflict all the time in the same manner. The same way we don't always need to discipline our children in the same manner every time. Let's explore some other options. Let's do time out. Let's do, take away some cell phones. Let's take away some fun activities that you love. But also let's acknowledge our children. Let's praise our spouses. Let's praise our children for the things that they do well, because they thrive on that. And so they'll be looking for that. They will rise to the expectations of that. And so we have to notice our children when they're, of course, having mental health challenges, but we also need to praise our children and praise our spouse, because what we praise raises, okay? And so that will increase. So we don't want to continue to acknowledge the faults more so than the praise. We will tell everybody. We will call the phone tree, tell Letty at church, tell all the neighbors, the grandparents, people that live in other states. Look what your grandchild did. But then when they get a great praise report or a grades, make the sports team and do all this other thing, help around the house, help you when you're sick, do all this, carry the groceries for a neighbor, you whisper that, or you don't say it at all.
Well, you're supposed to do that.
Exactly. That's what they say. Now, you know what Daddy taught me, that we acknowledge, especially Black men and Black fathers in our household. And so we gonna praise you. We gonna give you more than a big piece of chicken. We gonna say, thank you, Dad. Thank you, honey. Thank you, husband, for being here. You didn't have to be here. I know that it's a part of your job. I know that's a part of your duty, but thank you for being patient with me. My dad is patient with my mom, even when my mom is up here.
Wait a minute. I hear some negative in that praise. Wait a minute. He is patient with my mom.
Yes, he is. That's a compliment. He is very patient.
Yeah, but not for your mom.
My mom is also very patient with my dad, because my dad will spill some sticky 50-50 drink on the kitchen floor for 40 years, but she continues to say, but he loves me. He's been here. He has, my mom has priorities in relationships. She said, as long as you put your hands on me, blah, 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 then I can deal with anything else. I can deal with the sticky floor. I can deal with, you know what I'm saying? So you have to choose the balance.
Exactly.
Exactly. And know your priorities. There's always going to be some pet peeves in relationships.
Well, first of all, nobody's perfect.
I'm sick of my own pet peeves. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Myself. So somebody else is going to irritate you. So you have to take it with a grain of salt and know that who you have in that relationship is there. The substance is there. And most of what they're offering you is not irritating you.
Right.
And if it is, you chose them.
That's right. That's what we have to recognize, that nobody is perfect, but their imperfections. Which imperfections are we willing to tolerate? Right? Because we're not perfect. They're not perfect.
Right.
So, okay, it doesn't bother me every now and again that he snores. Right? It doesn't bother me every now and again that he really sticky stuff on the floor. Talking to general, baby.
Oh, okay. All right. As long as you don't mention that plate. Okay.
So we have to understand it's a give and take, right? Yeah. So, I'm willing to deal with that because like you said, at the end of the day, I know that he loves me. I know that he will provide for me. I know that he would risk his life for me. So it's the things that we have to stop looking for perfection and realize that we're imperfect beings in the human aspect, but we have to compromise when it comes to relationships, children, anything.
Yeah. And
job.
Some of that is projection.
Yes.
If we are unhappy with some things that are going on inside of us, then we may project that on others. And so how can we see the God both in ourselves and in others? So we're not looking only at the faults, that we're magnifying the positive about ourselves and also about our mates or our children.
Okay. I don't hope I didn't interrupt you. Did you finish getting down your list? Yep. Okay. All right.
Let me see. No. I'm gonna give you all some more coping skills because these you may have heard these before, but it's so important, especially when tensions are high. So to have the quiet time, the first 15 minutes at least of your day will help children, adults, couples, whoever, just to write down some things in your journal, either positive things that have happened the night before, the day before, things that you're planning for your day, or maybe some things that you're worried about. So you get them out of your head and onto paper. So the Artist's Way book that I love by Julia Cameron talks about how to get the thoughts out of your head and onto paper so you have room for creative ideas.
Absolutely.
So you have room to do your purpose. The reason why you're here is to fulfill a purpose in life. Is not to always be worried and stressed about money, about relationships, about kids, about everything that's going wrong. Like we have to focus on what are we grateful for? So can you jot down 3 things that you're grateful for in the morning? So you set the tone for your day. So we can move along and be less irritable.
Right.
Some people that may
right.
Maybe a big challenge.
Right.
Maybe a challenge, but we have to continue to refocus. And when we get thrown off, when we start interacting with people throughout our day, we can come right back.
Yeah, we can.
We ground ourselves. Let's do some deep breathing in the car. I'm not about to cuss out this person just cut me off in traffic. I'm about to breathe and I'm going to say, I might have to have a little conversation with myself. I'm not going to cuss them out.
And that's what it is.
And I'm not going to let it affect the rest of my day.
Right. Because now I'm let this person throw me off my game. Because if I'm happy and they're interfering with that, you automatically switch what you're feeling to get what,
Now your day has taken a left turn.
Right, exactly. All right. Anything else on your list before we get out of here?
Let's ground ourselves. So sometimes that may be putting your hands in the dirt to plant, whether that's seeds or flowers or something green, and also putting our feet in the dirt. Just to remember where we come from God, from the earth, ground ourselves. We are in control of our emotions. When I ask my kids, who's in control of your emotions? Some of them like, them. They made me angry. They made me do this. No, nobody's in control of your emotions but you. And so how can we regulate our emotions and bring it back down to center? And what are some of the tools, coping skills and tools that we have in our toolbox that we can use? So I just gave you all a couple: journaling, grounding, meditation, prayer, having the
Praise.
family time, exactly, praise, and having the couples time.
Absolutely. All right.
Man, that's a lot right there.
That's a lot.
I mean, with those, we should be okay, right? That's a good start, right? But I do like to plant, and planting is very, very relaxing. We really, really enjoy it.
Well, we thank you for joining us Friday. We got to do another Friday about something else. So next time it'll be something else on couples. Won't be about the mental.
No, but we need to talk about it. We need to deal with it.
Yes,
right,
yes,
right. People are dealing with a whole bunch of things.
Absolutely.
All right, Dr. Truth, tell us, how can we get in contact with you?
Dr. Truth and Associates.com.
All right, so let's see if we can find Dr. Truth. There we go, right there. Dr. Truth and Associates.com is the best way to get in contact with you, Dr. Truth.
Tell them where they can follow you on your Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, yes. You can follow me on Instagram at I am Dr. Truth. That is IAMDRTRUTH. And Dr. Truth and Associates on Facebook.
All right.
Well, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Truth. I'm glad you gave us so many gems. Now we can go out and start to, build a stronger foundation, just understanding where we are.
Issues
right.
And getting help.
And it's okay. It's okay if you're not okay. It's okay not to be okay. It really is. But, we need to just say.
But we need to become okay.
Right. We need to become okay. We need to move in that direction. Right. But we're still, busy on trying to stay so stout and be okay, but you're not really okay. So it's okay not to be okay. You may need to get some help, and that's okay too. Right. And we found that
or just regrouping. Yep. Recognizing the signs, regrouping, and reaching out for help, that it's out there. It is available, and it's nothing wrong. It doesn't need to be stigmatized. It's nothing wrong with getting help.
It sure is.
To get back to being okay.
Right, exactly. All right, well, that's it for tonight. Thank you, guys. Hold on, Dr. Truth. Hey, thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys, checking us out. Check out Dr. Truth at Dr. Truth and Associates. Check out our YouTube at Legendary Relationship, and check out the podcast, Love and Beyond the I Do.com/49. You'll see the whole interview with Dr. Truth. Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate you guys.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.